Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Survivor Analytics. I am not Clyde. I am Alexis, and joining me we have not Jack. Say hi, Kerry.
Hi, I'm Kerry.
You have two true experts this week, so sorry you're missing your voice of the people.
Yeah, I don't promise to have all the stats that Clyde does, but more Survivor knowledge than Jack. No offense, Jack.
What were your overall thoughts of the episode?
I liked it. I thought it was kind of common of how the new era merge, not merge episodes have been of kind of just one mind track. But overall, I liked it. I feel like I like most of the cast, so it was nice to finally see them all come together and interact.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting to see everyone together because I feel like we've gotten, probably since everybody went to tribal already, like all the different tribes, we've gotten a lot of the tribe dynamics of everybody, so it was cool to see everybody interact. This is maybe just how I feel about merge episodes in general, but I was a little bit disappointed just because I feel like, especially coming off of so much drama in all of the other episodes, it just felt very cut and dry from the beginning.
Yeah, I would agree. And all the new era twists, which I guess we'll get to, aren't really even twists at this point. Yeah, it was kind of tough, seeing starting off with the episode, seeing all the Gada drama from post-tribal, and then that just kind of got dropped in this episode. It didn't really keep up.
Yeah, I feel like there was only a little bit in the beginning, but we can start there with them coming back from the last tribal.
Sure. I do want to say that Rome actually opens this episode saying previously on Survivor. So
I did notice that.
So it's oh, it was the second time I rewatched it. And so when things happened later, I was like, oh, wow. And then there is a night mode animal shot of a snake. It's the only animal shot I wrote down, but I have to do it justice. Yeah. I have to represent Jack Little. So it is Gada coming back from tribal. They just voted out Annika. It was Andy, Sam, and Sierra voted Annika out, and Rachel was blindsided. So Andy has this confessional talking about tribal, and he says, that was fun as hell. It was Blindside City. And some of the things that he has said throughout the season so far just makes me think that, not that he's missing something socially, but some things I'm just you don't need to be saying that. I think it could be interpreted as off-putting, but I think people do just appreciate his vulnerability and openness. So yeah, I think he was just also very happy to be included on the vote.
Yeah.
He was oh, I was on the team who pulled off the blind side. So things have been turning around for him. But when they come back, they're really just doing damage control with Rachel, who feels like she's on the bottom, obviously because she wasn't included in the vote. And yeah, she's just says she's praying for a lifeline.
And then this is kind of going off of last episode, but it was mentioned this episode. What are your thoughts on Sam not using his idol?
I liked it, even though when he didn't do it last week, I said, oh, good move. Especially just because it feels like at this point he's stringing Andy along and he's the main one. I guess Andy does work with Sierra also, but by keeping Andy and not Annika, I think that was a really Sam move. Yeah, I think it was a very good move to not play his idol. Otherwise, Andy is going to be blindsided. And they're well, you didn't tell me and blah, blah, blah. So I think it was good to keep. And I like that he mentioned maybe planting it as a decoy in the future. I think that would be fun to see.
Yeah, I think it was a really good move. I don't think that it was the wrong move, but I just wonder, Rachel's going to tell Andy, right? I feel like Rachel has to expose them.
I just don't know how close they are. If she hasn't at this point, I don't know if maybe we're not seeing it and she's still kind of talking to Sierra. I don't know, because Andy and Rachel did talk at night in this episode in the beach, which Andy was comforting Rachel when back in episode 1, Andy was trying to get Rachel to comfort him in the middle of the night and she was not having it. So kind of flip-flopped. So I don't know. Yeah.
But that's really all we get before the before the pre-merge starts to happen. Besides, they just show all of the shots of everybody where we see Sue scramble to unpaint her idol in the middle of all this.
Understand. So we see all the tribes, the boats come, they get the letter, it says drop your buffs, and they're all going to the Tuku camp. So Sue says, oh my gosh, they're going to come check our bags. Is that a thing?
I don't know. Like, was she not worried about her own tribe mates checking her bags? If like I was so confused by that too. I was like, is that what they do when they come?
That's why I was like, I'd never heard that. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it was just, I love that they planted that idol with the paint and the pottery. Like, it was just so fun and new, and it's like sucks to deal with. Like, I would not want to deal with that at all, but it is very fun to watch.
Yeah, I will have more thoughts on that later from when like people discover the paint and everything.
Yeah.
It's like the general first thoughts I had were, well, one, I didn't even think of this until just now. It was in her bag with paint. Like, is there not paint in her bag?
That's what, I don't know. It seemed like she said there was a tube filled with paint and the idol was in the tube. So I guess if the tube is shut and clean, if it's like actually sealed shut, the paint won't leak.
But wasn't there paint on the outside too? Because there was paint inside the clay pot.
I guess so. Maybe she just washed it. I don't know.
I guess she did try to wash it initially, but yeah, I was like, one, there's that, but then also I have a bad sense of how many days they've been out there, like, and how many days it's been since she's found it. It just seems like, why hadn't she dealt with it yet?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I will have more thoughts on that later when they find it. Any thoughts before the rest of the tribes come and join them?
Yeah, no, everyone is just really excited that they've been told to drop their buffs, not necessarily make the merge, but you know, you see everyone doing their group hugs. They all come to Tuku Beach. They're all saying hello. And then Tiana is walking away, sees a sign, and she yells out, I thought it was funny, she yelled out, "Excuse me," to get everyone's attention. And then they all have to come over and see the sign. And they're told there's a hidden advantage on the island that will be helpful in the next challenge, and go start looking for it now. What did you think about like their reactions to it?
The way that they looked for it a little bit and then didn't really.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool twist, but I do understand like their hesitancy, not even to like look like you're looking for it, because of course you're allowed to. It's not the same thing as looking for an idol, but like they want to make relationships with each other.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird to do that straight off the bat.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you're just trying to get to know each other. Like, granted, many people have met on journeys, but trying to see everyone together and just see how the dynamic is as a whole. And you're told to like run off in a million different directions. And if you don't necessarily know the other people on the other tribes, you don't know who you could trust if they've actually found it. Yeah, so I thought it was weird that they kind of just looked for, I think later on they said a minute. I think that was an exaggeration, I hope, and then stopped. I thought it was funny that I feel like, I don't know if they've been doing this. They've been using the buoys a lot this season. They did it with the Asia and TK journey when they were fighting in the water for it.
Yeah.
But they show a clip of Sam and Genevieve, and they're looking in the water. And Genevieve's like, "What's that?" And Sam's like, "Oh, it's just a buoy. It's nothing." And then they walk away. Yeah, and then they cut to everyone kind of mingling and saying that they just want to meet each other and they don't want to look. Oh, everyone is just hanging out and not searching. Soul has a confessional where he says, "What the hell, guys?" So shout out Kelly. He's like, "I'll play this game. Why aren't we looking for this advantage?"
The whole scene where Sam and Genevieve saw the buoy, that I was like about to scream at my TV because Sam's on my my team, my Genevieve's on mine. And the whole time with like his reaction to her saying that, I thought he was playing it off because he knew and he wanted to go get it. Because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like it was like, "Oh, that's nothing.
They're not going to go like race each other to the water."
And then he was going to like turn around and get it. But he really was just like, "Oh, that's nothing." And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, are there other buoys? Are there buoys at their camp? Like,
I don't know.
Because he was like, "Oh yeah, it's nothing," when that's not even his camp. Like,
yeah. I guess we could say ultimately Genevieve does go back. She has this nagging thought in her head to go check the buoy, and she just doubts herself the whole time. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to get wet. If I get in this water for nothing, I'll be mad. I'm going to get eaten by a shark." She does a lot of talking to herself in the episode, and I find it funny that the show highlights that. I love it. So she ultimately does go out there, find the advantage, comes back, and Sam's like, "It was the buoy?" Like, he was like, I don't know if he was playing it up, but he seemed surprised. And then also during this whole montage, we're coming back to the red paint and pottery.
Yeah.
The new people at camp are kind of searching around for the idol, and they find trails of red paint from when Sue was trying to wash it away. So it's just kind of funny. They're following it around, and they're like, "Oh, there's paint. Oh, there's pottery," and they're kind of putting it together.
I have so many thoughts on the thing. Like, one, it's so obvious that production set this up for this to happen because, like, they brought them all to the beach where this happened, knowing there's probably going to be paint and pottery everywhere, and then told everybody search everywhere. So then, like, of course, they end up finding all the paint and pottery, which was so funny. Just the thoughts on Sue's entire idol situation. I don't know why she handled it the way that she did. Like, it's so easy to judge from here, but like I said, I don't know how long that she had the idol for. I get that Tiana and Caroline walked up on her. Probably there was no avoiding all of that, I would assume. But I would think once you get caught with paint on your face, you would be so careful to make sure that the paint was not anywhere. But instead, she just keeps the paint in her bag this whole time and then deals with it right before people are going to come. And honestly, the whole Genevieve advantage finding thing made me think, when I think of the water, like the beach water, I think that it's like in view of everybody. But obviously it isn't, all of it, because it's an island one. But also, like, Genevieve went into the water and no one to get the advantage and no one saw her do it. Why didn't Sue just take the thing to the water?
That's what I don't know. Like, I think she had mentioned that she was like, I was just so panicked when they like kind of walked up on me when I first found it. Like, I just shoved it back in the tube to like hide it. And again, yeah, I don't know how long she's had it. So maybe she hasn't had time to like go away and wash it. I don't know why she keeps insisting on doing it at the well instead of running to the ocean where there's ample water. Yeah, I don't know. But the red paint like does come back. Like, Caroline and Tiana have those red flags go off. And they're both like, oh, there's red paint everywhere. We caught Sue with red stuff on her a few days ago. Caroline was a super awesome ally. She's like, you know what? I know Sue's secret and I'm going to keep it. Like, go, Sue. And even when she went up to Sue and she was like, oh, like, make sure you don't have paint on you. Like, I got you. Sue's like, what do you mean? Like, Sue is just so committed to like playing dumb. And even her facial expressions throughout the whole episode, whenever anyone's talking about the paint, she just looks like, I guess she's maybe nervous and scared, but she looks bewildered. Like, what is this paint? I think she was doing a very good job at acting. It
was almost refreshing to see a Alliance member like Caroline, because we never see that. Like, I was so ready for her to be like, oh my gosh, Sue didn't tell me about this. Like, time to vote Sue out. Like, trust me. But she was like, oh, I know, and like, we're good. Like, this is great. I'm so happy for her, which was really cool to see. Like, I understand both sides of it. I probably would also feel a certain way if someone didn't tell me about it. But like,
yeah, I would be bummed. But it shows that I think they have good trust. I am also like proud of Sue. Again, don't know how long she's had it, for not telling anyone. Like, I feel like it is very common now to just tell all your allies, and then the secret just gets out there. But yeah, she kept a lid on it too. Are we good to move on from the paint idol?
I have one more thing before immunity challenge, though. And this is just a random small comment that I think happened as soon as they got on the beach. But I laughed when Sol was talking to Sue about how old they were.
Oh my gosh.
Sol was like, you look so good for 45. Yeah, I've seen so much discourse online, like, did she tell people she was 45?
I know. He was like, yeah, I'm 42, you're 45. Damn, we look good. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was funny. Before immunity, I did also want to talk about the Rome and Kyle beef.
Oh, yeah.
So Rome, I think he has like a confessional or something, and he's saying, you know, now that we're all together, I'm really trying to use information. I'm trying to get information and spread it. He doesn't say that he's trying to cause chaos, but he is. So they do a little flashback to the night before. It shows Kyle and Rome chatting. Rome is kind of, you know, prodding as he does, and he's like, oh, who do you think is like the strongest guy? Kyle says Sam. And Rome says, well, what do you think about Tiana? And Kyle's like, oh, yeah, I think she has a fair chance. So then Rome goes around telling people, oh, Kyle has it out for Tiana, when Rome planted the name. I loved seeing Kyle get so angry. I feel like he's been like very like gentle and calm. And when he started like cursing at Rome, I was like, I love this. I think Rome is being like pretty bold, especially since he's just coming together with a whole bunch of people, and we've seen him pull this on Lavo. I think it works better in a smaller situation with people you've been with for 10 or so days. And again, like Sol tells Tiana, this is what Rome does. He stirs the pot. So make sure you fact check whatever he tells you. Stirring the pot is fun. I think it's bold for Rome to come and do that immediately when everyone comes together, because he's trying to pitch to, Tiana, who has been with Kyle for 10 or so days. Hey, Kyle wants you out. And that's what Tiana's like, gut check immediately. Kyle is my number one ally. Why would he say that? Like, and I think Kyle later says, I'm one of the most honest dumbasses here. I would like never say that. So I just think it was a bold move for Rome to try and flip everyone on Kyle.
I feel like this is just like a case of him not attributing his game so far to all of the advantages that he had. I think that he really thought that he was just, because this is how he was playing on Lavo, right? Yeah, Lavo. This is how he was playing there. And he's like, oh, it worked for me there. But like he's forgetting the whole reason he's really there is the idol and the advantages and everything that he had. And I think
not his social game.
Yeah, not at all. he thinks he's doing so good.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll just do this again. But yeah, I also thought like the choosing Tiana and Kyle specifically was such a weird choice, because like Sam, sure, no one knows Sam, or at least like Kyle doesn't know Sam. He could be like, oh yeah, Sam seems strong. But like to just feel like you can get between an alliance that was already formed.
Right. If you like heard there was a crack or a wedge, like maybe like Sue kind of, caught on to it when Rome was telling her, oh, Kyle was talking about you and Caroline, until she learned about the wider stirring the pot scheme. But yeah, I feel like if you hear there's a wedge or like a crack in a tribe dynamic, that makes sense to stir the pot. I don't see how it was going to work out in this circumstance.
It was also just so odd because it's like it seemed like he was starting to develop a relationship with Kyle. Like, why did he want to throw that?
Right, yeah.
It's like he was actually doing a socially okay, like, job talking to somebody, and he was like, okay, now that I got that over with, I'm gonna destroy that to try to like multiply it, but it really did not work at all.
Like, it's fine to go get the information, but I think he was trying to like tell people that in hopes that they would bond with him. But again, like him going and telling Tiana, oh, Kyle has it out for you, when Kyle and Tiana already have that bond that they've had for over a week. She's not going to flip a switch and be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Rome. Like, I owe you my life.
And also, just like another side note, it shows his lack of social awareness to choose Kyle out of all people.
Right? And like seemingly one of the most likable people on that island.
Yep. And he's like, I'm going to make Kyle the villain.
I think he just saw him as a challenge threat. And so he was like, oh, I want to get this guy out. I don't know. That's my best guess. Yeah, I feel like Kyle seemingly so far gets along very well with everybody. So yeah, it was an odd target.
Anything else before we move on to the immunity challenge?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. So we get to the immunity challenge, and it's a immunity and food reward challenge, and
twist.
Semi-different than the pre-merges of past. The beginning part will be a team challenge for reward for food, and then the winners of the team portion are moving on to an individual immunity challenge. My major point is Schoolyard Pick was back. We haven't seen that in a long time, but I have
first time ever. ... in the new era.
Yep. But I am so mad that they didn't show it. That they didn't show the picks.
They released it as a deleted scene. Like, I watched it today, but yeah, I don't know why they would even say Schoolyard Pick and then we don't get to see the order.
Because I think it's such a fun, like, you see what individual relationship dynamics there are a bit. Of course, people are going to try to pick people who they think are strong too. But also you get to see people's perception of people's strength. Like, that was something that I wanted to see. I was so mad when they didn't even say who the captains were. They didn't say anything. They were just like, here they are.
Yeah. I guess I watched the clip when I wrote it down, so I'll just share for the listeners. So the captain of the yellow team was Teeny, and the captain of the blue team was Tiana. The yellow team ended up being Teeny, Sam, Kyle, Rachel, Sierra, and Sue. And the blue team ended up being Tiana, Gabe, Sol, Caroline, Rome, and Andy. So Sue was the last pick, and Andy was put on blue by default. So he was kind of bummed about that. I won't get into it that much because it wasn't in the real episode, but he talked about how it evoked feelings from middle school and being last pick.
As I also saw that too, and one thing that I did think was actually surprising, at least a bit. I know Andy has done poorly in challenges, but wasn't it someone from his tribe who didn't pick him? Wasn't it Sierra?
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I like when I saw the last two, I was like, oh, Sierra's gonna pick Andy. It was she didn't.
Right. And it kind of
so upset if I were him.
Like, although Sierra had to pick, she could, talk with everyone else, but it was ultimately her choice. But it looked like her and Sam were like whispering about who to pick, and then they went with Sue. I think Andy performed better than Sue in the challenge. Like, I don't know. I don't think he did poorly. But yeah, that was the schoolyard pick that they didn't show in the episode.
And then we also get to see Genevieve's advantage, which is not participating in the team portion and going straight to the individual immunity portion. And since she's not participating in the first part, she automatically gets the food reward.
I was just going to say this. They kept calling this challenge like gruesome or grueling or whatever. And like it was. They were like, so I guess the first part, you crawl through the mud and then you crawl through the wood shavings. They were coated in that mud, so much so that I couldn't tell who was who. I didn't know who anyone was. They were just covered in mud, like soaked.
I remember I was trying to take notes at the end to see who was doing the puzzle or the maze, and it took me so long to figure out who was doing the maze because I was like, I don't know who these people are.
Could not tell. So I guess after that, then there was kind of like a grappling hook situation. Some team members had to clear debris to free a bag. They had to use the grappling hook to get the bag and pull it up, push it down a slide, go down a slide, empty it, get the ball for the table maze, run up the ramp wall, which terrifies me. And then at the end of that, there was a table maze. So I guess like Blue went full send physical running up that, is it called a ramp wall?
Think.
Okay.
Like, yeah,
that's what I'm calling it. Like Gabe was a beast, went just like, well, in the show, first try, right up. And Blue was just kind of sending it physically. They like, I think Caroline was the last person. Gabe came back down to help her. Everyone else is holding Andy's body. Andy is like over the wall, arms down. So Caroline can run, Gabe can boost her up, and Andy can grab her. And then she's just being pulled up by everybody. Yellow took the slower approach. Jeff did mention, because some people were struggling, you do have sandbags if you want to stack them so you could just grab the rope. So they took that slower approach. But then they kind of ended up on the table maze platform at the same time. So they were pretty even. But I was pissed off at this table maze. Because it was, I forget who did it for Yellow, Sam and Kyle against Gabe and Rome, who were so aggressive. Like, that's just not how you do a table maze.
Who let Rome be in the puzzle or maze position at the end again? Who let
I'm sure he made himself do it again as he volunteers for every time.
It's like that one was so egregious. His one puzzle where he didn't put a single piece in.
Yeah.
I think even the people who weren't on his tribe should have known that he shouldn't be in that position because Jeff was like the entire time being like, oh, Rome hasn't put a single piece up. Like everybody knew, and they still let him go there.
Even in this episode, Jeff is talking about how it's harder to do a table maze with two people versus one. And he says, with two, you got to worry about the other idiot you're playing with. And I'm like, yeah. So they were just being so aggressive. You had classic Soul doing his backseat driving, being, slow down. You're doing too much. Take your time.
Can we spit people out?
Yeah. Can we do a swap? Jeff says no. Gabe and Rome are kind of angry. They're like, dude, we're good. When they're very obviously not good. They did kind of make it like close, but they lost it at the end. So Yellow Tribe won the first portion of the team challenge. They got the food and they got to move on to the individual immunity along with Genevieve.
And then for individual immunity, it's a challenge that we've seen before quite a few times. Where they're balancing a ball on a
I think they call it a bow.
A bow.
It's like
there we go.
Yeah.
And they're standing on like a balance beam situation while they're doing it, and it gets smaller as the challenge goes on.
Yeah, I think it's so, I mean, we've obviously seen like a reward and an immunity challenge before. I think it's so much harder when you're coming directly from the team challenge. I'm sure they were all gassed. It is just funny seeing them all lined up with Genevieve, who is very clean because she did not crawl through the mud. She's so bright. Everyone else looks like they're like grayed out in the picture or something because they're just covered in dry mud. They had this in 3 rounds. Sierra and Sam both fell out in the first 5 minutes of round 1. Round 2, we saw Rachel, Genevieve, and Teeny fall down. In round 3, we saw Sue go down, which left Kyle with the win. I think Sue did a lot of great recovery. Like, she was so back and forth. I was surprised she stayed in it that long. But yeah, ultimately Kyle won. I was very happy for him. And everyone else seemed pretty happy for him too.
And this was the best. Obviously, immunity is always the best scenario for anybody, but this was like the best scenario for Kyle specifically because he doesn't have a vote. Because I would be so afraid that I would be the one being voted out because I don't have a vote. And now he's immune, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, especially with Rome going in. I don't know if they curse on this podcast, talking poorly about him ever since they all got on the same island together. So yeah, big win for Kyle. I was very happy for him. Oh, Teeny literally took her eye off the ball. That's why she dropped out. I was kind of mad.
Yeah,
mad at her about that.
At Sue or someone. She was.
Yeah, I think Jeff was commentating like, "Oh, Sue, nice recovery," and Teeny looked over and her ball fell right off. Yeah, so Kyle gets his merge buff. He's the first person to quote unquote earn the merge, and they're purple this season, so that's fun. So I guess we can keep going. The winning team, so everyone who participated in individual immunity. They get to go get their meal, and it's a giant charcuterie board, which looks delicious. Teeny's getting drunk. Sam's having his first ever taste of pineapple, and they eventually start talking about, how the vote could go. You see, I think at least Sue and maybe Sierra, a couple people chime in, when they're asked, "Who are we voting tonight?" And a lot of people just go, "I'm going to vote with the majority. I'm doing whatever the majority wants." So I just feel like that's such obviously playing it safe, but just like a tough situation to throw a name out. I think Rome was kind of the easy one to be tossed out based on, his interactions at camp and how it was going. But then someone says, "Oh, we should have a backup in case he's an idol," whatever. So I think Sue says, "Well, would you guys mind if it was Andy?" And Sierra, I think in a confessional, she knows, "I've been working with Andy," but she kind of references his sloppy gameplay. And Sam says, "If it's Andy, it's Andy." So they don't really stick up for him. I feel like it's hard to stick up for him in that situation because Rachel, I think, is also at the table. So, who else from God are you going to throw under the bus?
And also I feel like making it obvious that they're working with Andy by trying to stick up for him would really not be great for them because I don't think anyone really thinks that they're working with Andy because of how he's presented himself.
That makes sense. I was going to say it's odd that they're willing to throw him away after they've been trying to keep him along. But yeah, I guess if other people don't know. I mean, I'm sure Andy went and blabbed to everyone that he was in on the Annika blind side. So
which people know. Tribal. He did have
he did.
Definitely if he had it before that. So you're right.
Yeah. But I think we're starting to maybe see some cracks in Gata because Andy's name is potentially on the chopping block. So I think then it cuts back to camp where the losing group. I feel like Jeff, I don't know if he's always been this way. I feel like he's very vicious with calling people losers this season. So the losers are back at camp. There is a 3-way amulet still in the game. So that is between Andy, Caroline, and Teeny. Caroline and Andy are saying, we're going to play it tonight before we go into the merge so we don't have the targets on our backs. Everyone's going to know the plan. Everyone's going to know what's happening. So it sounds like it's kind of a non-factor. They're just going to play it to get rid of it, but I'm sure we'll get into that later. While everyone is still at the feast, Rome is pitching soul to people.
Yep.
Surprise, surprise. He pulls out this whole, "Oh, he's been really mean to me and he yells at me in challenges and it really hurts my pride." He pulls a few tears out, blah, blah, blah. He's just manipulating Tiana and Caroline and whoever else is standing around there. So I'm not surprised that he's acting that way.
Not surprised, but wild to try to throw Soul out as the bully, because I do not believe that he comes off like that at all. So I don't think anyone would believe him.
Yeah, I guess like he does like every challenge, kind of pitch in from the sidelines, but I think he's just trying to be encouraging and like save himself. It's always on a team that he's on. I feel like he doesn't get to participate whether it's his choice or not. Yeah, I think that was an easy thing for Rome to try to latch onto and complain about. Soul, side note, just seems like such a real one. I love no bullshit. I love him so much. I feel like when I drafted him, I like was getting some heat. Why'd you pick that guy? Whatever. And now I love him, and hoping for the best for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of all that goes on before everyone is reunited.
Mm-hmm. Rome starts to pitch Soul and then ends up pitching it to everyone else.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. He was going up to like everyone, go up to Tiana and be like, so the plan is Soul tonight. And she's like, okay. It cuts to like a confessional of her being like, yeah, right. Same with Sam, same with Teeny. He's just going up to people individually being like, so it's Soul. Sidebar, they're talking about how they like the immunity necklace this year, and for individual immunities it has the bat wings, and Kyle has a bat tattoo on his upper back. Like, how on theme for him.
It was faded.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did write down some of Rome's very cocky confessional. The fact that there's 13 people left in the game and I can corral all of them to vote my way. That must say a lot about how I'm playing the game. Later on, he does say, man, I am running this game. So I know he's like giving a lot of very confident confessionals. I just wonder if there were any like red flags sitting off in his head saying like, hey, I'm pitching Soul to everyone. Everyone's saying yes. Why is no one throwing out a different name? Maybe that different name is me.
I know. I don't know why. Like, I know that he's very obviously overconfident, like generally as a person. So that might be it. But like, it was so surprising to me that he wasn't even a little bit suspicious. Like, it seemed like he, like, at least from what we saw, he was just going up to people, not even really having a conversation with them, being like, yeah, you heard the plan, right? It's Soul.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's Soul. And he was like, cool. Like, he just thought that people automatically agreed with him on that, like, given no background on anything.
I just kind of felt bad. I feel like the edit was just puffing him up. I think that's even something like Soul said, they're boosting his ego.
Mm-hmm.
He just feels very confident that, yeah, I'm running the game. And I think he was very used to doing that at Lavo. Again, I think it's harder to execute on the larger scale. Another thing, I guess Sam and Soul are kind of talking, and Sam's like, hey, the real plan, right? And he tells him that the backup is Andy. And Soul's kind of like, oh, really? Like, are you okay with that? And Sam says, yeah, if it came down to it, like, honestly, I'd rather you than him. So again, I think just some cracks in Gata. Maybe Andy isn't the best alliance member that they've been trying to keep around. Yeah, I think that's all I had.
Yeah, I don't think I had much else either. I feel like it was, like I said at the beginning, pretty cut and dry. Like, it was very obvious they were setting Rome up for failure.
Yeah. But even so, like, I just felt bad watching. I just felt like the edit was being so mean. That was the way. I don't know if I just have trust issues or something, and it's because I'm, like, scared for the people on my fantasy team. But even with the way the edit was, just setting up Rome, I was like, no, oh my God, it's gonna flip and be Soul. I'm like, he has a secret idol somewhere. Soul's going home. So although it was pretty cut and dry, I was still nervous. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess, they get to tribal, and, Jeff is asking them some questions. He asks Rome something about how it was at camp today, and Rome says, people don't really want to ruffle feathers. If you hear the plan, that's it, and you just go with it.
So he is right about that. It's just the plan that everybody agreed with was him.
Yeah, he just didn't know the plan. And they were even talking about that too. He was like, oh, blindsides are great unless you're the person being blindsided. And I was like, well, let's see. Jeff is shocked that they only looked for the advantage for 1 minute. He seems a little hurt. And then they're kind of talking poorly about the amulets. And he's like, what? You don't think they're a good advantage? I wonder if he actually knew this, or he's always actually like, oh, I'm hearing from real players that my quote unquote fun twists and tricks aren't actually beneficial for people's games.
Yeah, does he not see any of the online discourse about his show at all? Because it's so crazy to see it like play out on the actual season, because I feel like we've been seeing it for so long that these advantages are just not working.
This might be a historic moment, invites Rome to come sit on his stool and explain to everyone how the amulets are a disadvantage and how you don't want to have them in the game. Because he's shocked, or Jeff is shocked to hear that, oh yeah, amulets are here. They're planning them tonight just to get rid of them. They don't want a target on their back. I think Rome was trying to steal Jeff's job. Some tension there.
That was his end goal. I thought that whole scenario was so funny. It was like giving a dog a really good day where you're gonna put it down.
Yeah, do you think Jeff knew?
It feels like he did. Like, I know that he probably didn't, but it feels like he did. And it was so funny to watch. At least it is good for Rome. I'm sure he really enjoyed being able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it is really funny that it was like, you're giving him chocolate, you're like letting him run around the floor.
You're letting to a dog. You're going to kill the dog.
Exactly, because you're going to put him down. So you're letting him have whatever he wants.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm sure Rome was on top of the world. He's like, oh, I'm sitting in Jeff's stool. Everyone's voting my way. Goodbye, soul. This is the best day of my life. Oh, another Andy comment. He said, blindsiding Annika was fun as hell, dude. And then it kind of cut to Rachel, whose face is just an annoyed stare. So again, like, some of the things that he says, I feel like he doesn't always take into the account how they're going to make other people feel. Like, if I was Rachel hearing that, I'd be pissed and I wouldn't want to work with you. Like,
I know they all think that, like, in their head. Like,
oh, of
course, you're like, I'm playing Survivor. This is great. This is fun. But you don't just, like, say that.
Yeah. Just, like, not very, I don't know. I wouldn't super, like, trust that person who has that attitude. And not that he can't keep a secret, because I think he's done okay. But, yeah, just some things, again, he says, hit me in an interesting way. And again, like, people are talking a lot about their legacy and their impact throughout the episode. I think that's a very common, new era thing. You have your Survivor bucket list and blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot about how if you don't make the jury, you don't make the merge, what's the point? You only played Survivor elementary school. You have to get to the high school level to, like, actually make it count. So I think that's tough. Like, obviously a lot of people don't make the merge and don't make the jury. Especially
we've had a lot of, like, players that have gone on to be, like, big names. I might be wrong, but I feel like there have been some of them that didn't make the merge their first time.
Like, yeah, we can have Clyde fact check that at a later date.
I think I saw Kelly Wentworth was voted off 5th on one of her seasons. Maybe it wasn't her first season, but I just mean, like, I don't know. I get it, but also I feel like they put such an emphasis on you have to make the merge or else, like, what was the point? When skipping ahead, obviously, to Rome getting voted out, which we already knew.
Spoiler alert.
Multiple times. But, like, people can hate on him. I hate on him a little, even though I like villains and he was entertaining, but he definitely did have a legacy in the game. Like, he definitely made his name here.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back for season 50.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I think he left a huge impact on the game, this season. I think he's been the most, like, memorable and notable player, although they might not like him. Everyone's talking about him. So, yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement, and especially now when the merge isn't really the merge. Like, in this episode, everyone is competing individually for immunity. One person gets it, everyone else is at risk. That's the merge. Like, historically, that's when you're at merge. So, I don't know. It is very iffy now. I guess technically, yeah, we said it already. Rome will not make the merge, will not be on the jury, but still made an impact on the game, I'd say. So I guess, like, getting to the voting booth, we get a ton of voting booth confessionals this one.
Which I love. I'm so glad they're starting to bring those back more because I loved them in earlier seasons. I think they are so funny. They have some of the best moments in the old seasons, so it's nice to see it happening again.
Yeah, we had Andy speaking German in his. That's a fun fact of his. He could speak German. That's cool. And Sam, said the classic, Rome wasn't built in a day, but your game sure was destroyed in one. We had to hear one of those.
Of course.
Probably just going to get to the votes.
Well, yeah, I mean, they show, one, this is the votes and also a confessional, though. They show Rome being so confident that he didn't even vote for Sol. He voted for Sam, which was crazy because he was so confident, like not even an inkling of a doubt, that he was like, I'm just going to throw this out there.
And I like that, just throwing the vote, like, oh, you know what? Sam could be a target. Let me just write his name down. But the fact that, he was just thought for certain that Sol was going home tonight and just threw Sam's name out there.
So what do you think his reasoning was, though? Was he just, like, trying to cause more chaos? Like,
I think so. I think,
Sam?
again, he was just trying to stir the pot and get people talking. Maybe seeing Sam's name on parchment. I don't know if Rome had the plan of confessing to it or not. So maybe it would be a mystery of who wrote it. But also I think just like seeing his name written down, maybe it'll trigger people's heads like, oh yeah, Sam like actually is a threat. I'm sure people know that.
Yeah.
But seeing it on paper may be more real. Yeah, I think he was just trying to cause more chaos. So Rome doesn't vote Sol, but Sol also does not vote Rome because of this Andy backup plan. We have Sol and I think Sue is the other one who both vote for Andy. So just ironic that this whole Rome and Sol fighting through every episode so far, they don't even write each other's name down when it comes down to it. So I guess we have explained who voted for where. If we haven't mentioned the person, they voted for Rome. But before the votes are read, Caroline, Andy, and Teeny do play their amulets as an idol for Teeny. I assume that's because she gave up her vote on the journey, so that was their way to repay the favor.
And also just like a note, I think to touch on the whole advantage thing, I agree with getting rid of it because I think that really, I hate the amulets. I think they're terrible. I think they're like the worst of all of them really because not only is it public at this point, but it incentivizes you to vote each other out. So having that isn't a good thing because then those people are going to try to get rid of you. So I agree with it. However, I just hate that they had to do that. Like, what is the point of putting these advantages in the game if they don't even benefit anybody?
And I didn't like how that journey was either because there's nothing to do except someone volunteer to give up their vote or else you all lose them. Like, sorry, what kind of situation is that? Like, I kind of, not that I like the journeys, but like one of the old ones where they had the wheel and you had to pick risk or reward.
Yeah.
Like, that was a little more fun because you wouldn't see, like, when you're just standing there with two other people, I'll be like, oh, well, I can't lose my vote. Oh, well, I can't lose my vote. Like, no one could really lose their vote. There was just no, like, I guess it was a social struggle, but
I hope that them just getting rid of it and also the whole Rome explaining why it was bad, it's like the kick that production needs to at least semi get rid of these things, though, I hope. Because it can't be good for them to see their advantage that they put in the game just, like, thrown away. Like, this.
Like, what's the point? So as the votes are being read, Andy does see his name pop up, and I think he, like, turns and asks Sam, and he's like, was I the backup plan? And Sam's kind of like, oh, I don't know. So I think next episode, Andy will be a little not ticked off, but I think his paranoia will come back.
Yeah, we might see a little bit of breakdown Andy again, potentially. He got picked last, and now this happened.
I know. He said he's like a snake or something. Like, he's coming back with a vengeance, I'll say. I also love that as the Rome votes are continuously being read, they cut to Sol just sitting there smiling.
Finally, we see Sol happy.
Like, yes. Yeah, that's all I wrote.
I had one other too. I thought it was so funny watching Rome try to act when Sam's name is read. He was like, I'm so shocked.
That was so good.
He was looking around like, it wasn't even bad acting. It was just funny.
No, it was. Yeah, so I guess like we've said, Rome was voted off. It was a 9-2-1 vote. 9 to Rome, 2 to Andy, which came from Sol and Sue, and 1 vote on Sam, which came from Rome. He's not very bitter when he walks off. He says all love. He asks Jeff for a hug, who gives it to him, which again, I think we're just seeing a softer side of Jeff, I think, back in the day. No way was he going to hug someone, Yep. The tribe has spoken. Get out of here. Yeah, and then Jeff breaks out the merge buffs for everyone left to put on.
Interesting episode. At least we saw the villain fall after all this time.
Yeah, and I'll say I was happy watching it, but he was good TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that he's not like that in his day-to-day life when he was playing a game. I don't know. yeah, I was not his biggest fan, but, it was good television.
Yeah. And he did take his being voted off with grace. I will give him that. I was actually a little bit surprised how, he was like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with your winner for the episode?
Yes. So my winner was Soul, just because Rome finally got out of his hair. Yeah, it was just nice to see him smile and be happy.
I also chose Soul, actually.
We're just the Soul fan club over here.
I love him. And honestly, I feel like not only did he get rid of the person who was really going against him this whole time, it feels like he's more free to play for the first time ever, because he really hasn't had a foot in the game at all until now. So it feels like he
doesn't have Rome literally breathing down his neck.
And he has more people to play with too, not just because as the tribe was shrinking, he really didn't have that much he could do. But then also, he does have a relationship with Teeny and Genevieve, so if he decides to stay with them instead of go against them, I think that he's in a pretty good place.
Yeah, and even we saw in this episode, Teeny, I think in her voting booth confessional was I'm so happy other people see you the way I've been seeing you. Which early on they were in an alliance, an alliance of 4, Teeny and Rome together. So I just think over time, Lavo kind of turned on him, obviously because of how he was acting and stirring the pot. I don't know. I like the remaining members of former Lavo, Soul, Genevieve, and Teeny. I like them a lot, so I kind of hope they stick together, but I guess we'll see. I can say my loser first. Yeah. This was tough because I feel like everyone was so unanimous on the vote, and everyone was a bit kumbaya back at the camp. But I said Sam was my loser, just because kind of how we had talked about throughout. I think the cracks in God are starting to form. So I think Andy I'm just making predictions of things I don't know are going to happen. I think Andy's going to be a little mad next week. So I don't think that's looking good for Sam.
I will say too, I at first was writing Sam as my loser too, but then I wrote down a couple of reasons, and I was like, well, I see how that could not be the worst. So, but some points that I also was thinking were he did just get a vote cast for him, which isn't the best thing. Even if it was really obviously Rome, though, that's the one thing that I was because at first I was what if he gets this vote and then Rome leaves and everybody's oh my gosh, who was it? Was it Rome? But it's going to be pretty obvious it was Rome, because Rome didn't vote for the backup plan or for himself, so it was Rome. But yeah, no, I definitely see how Sam could be not in a great place from this episode. I ended up going with Tiana because, you, I feel like the vote was pretty unanimous. I couldn't really go too much off that. And although Caroline and Tiana both found out about Sue's idol, it went well for Caroline. I don't think it's going to go well for Tiana. I think that now that Sue's aware that Tiana definitely knows because Caroline knows, I think they're just going to get rid of her. I think they're not want to deal with the fact that she knows this. And I just don't think that she's in a very good place. And, I mean, although Kyle wasn't oh, yeah, I want to get Tiana out, he did agree with Rome. He did. He was yeah, Tiana, could be...
She's a fair competitor. Yeah.
Which he could have just been, going along with it, but also, he could also be questioning Tiana as well, so...
Yeah, I think she's another name that's out there. I think Sue even said, she doesn't trust Tiana and she doesn't like that she knows, and something about chopping off the head of the snake and she'll do it if she has to. So, yeah, I think Tiana and Sam are similar planes of, I don't know how secure they are in the future. Do you want to give your honorable or dishonorable mention?
I've already talked about mine a little bit, but my dishonorable mention is just public advantages in general. I just think that it's so boring.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Sue's was at least a little bit secret, even though it really isn't. Yeah. I'm glad that there was one that isn't fully public knowledge, because I just don't think that they're beneficial to anyone.
I'll go with an honorable mention. It's kind of basic, but I'm going to pick Kyle. I was just very happy to see him win. I think he got a lot of good time in this episode, showing the tension between him and Rome. And like I said before, I feel like Kyle has been relatively mild-mannered so far, so I liked seeing the more angry side of him. I think that was fun to watch. And then he ended up winning the immunity and securing a spot, even though he had no vote. So I think he had a good episode too. Well, I think that's it. I don't know how they usually wrap these things up.
thanks for tuning in, I guess. You'll probably have Clyde and Jack back next week, I'm assuming, but we were happy to be here with you this week.
Yeah, thanks for listening.